Good evening. I would like to call to order the Canyon City Planning Commission meeting of November 15th, 2016. Would you please all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? All roll for us.
Certainly. Good evening. Chairman Bellantoni,
Present.
Commissioner Frida, Commissioner Ledoux,
Here.
Commissioner Bates, Commissioner Carlson,
Here.
Commissioner Maloney,
Here.
Commissioner Hamrick,
Here.
and Commissioner Councilmember Gill.
Here.
I'd like to take this time for you all to notice that we're all here. 7. Thank you. And I'd like to take a moment to thank our new Commissioner, Ron Bates. Thank you. How many years is your term?
One, right? Yeah, I thought it was 17, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. All I know, I'm holding you to it. And Commissioner John Hamrick. And you're how many terms? 4 or 5?
I thought it was 2.
He's 2. I'm trying. And Pat, Frida, and how many years are you going to be with us?
You're taking commitments.
I'm writing it down, and
'cause
Denise
I
is
was-
taking notes.
I was thinking, is there something that somebody forgot to tell me?
I believe that Pat is 17. John is until 17.
2017.
2017. John is 2018 or 19, and Ron is 2018. I do believe.
I lied to you. Now here you
Yeah,
are.
you did.
But-
You'll pay for it later.
All I know is I got your numbers. I know where you live. I'll drive you here if I have to. But thank you all. All right. So this evening, do we have an approval of the minutes of the Planning Commission held on October 18, 2016? I guess first of all, I need to ask: are there any corrections or additions? All good? All right. Do I hear a motion?
Chairperson? Is that what you'd like to be called?
Gregory, what am I?
It's up to you. You can be Madam Chairman or
Madam.
Chairwoman or Mr. Chair, Mrs. Chair.
Chairperson, Chairwoman?
It's up to you.
In any case,
I'll be Madam Chair.
Madam Chair. I'd like to move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Canyon City Planning Commission held on October 18th, 2016.
I'll second that motion.
Call, please.
Commissioner Maloney,
Aye.
Commissioner Carlson,
Aye.
Chairman Bellantoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Frida, Commissioner Ledoux,
Aye.
Commissioner Bates, Commissioner Hamrick,
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Thank you. I will now open the public hearing to consider a zone change from residential 3 high-density residential to R1A, which is low-density, small lot residential for property located at 810 Greenwood Avenue. I think we all have beautiful maps Terry provided us in color. Okay, the provisions of the Canyon City Municipal Code, and in particular Title 17 thereof, the subdivision and development regulations, and the comprehensive plan of the City of Canyon City are incorporated into the record of this hearing as if set forth by verbatim. So at this time, Ms. Planner, Madam Planner, would you please give us a report?
I will. Madam Chair and members of the commission, this is a public hearing for its zone change request from Thomas Berry for 810 Greenwood Avenue. He wants to change the zoning from R3, which is high-density residential, to R1A, which is low-density, small lot residential. Notice was given as required by law, which is written notice mailed to all property owners within 300 feet of the property. The property at 810 Greenwood, there was a fire there earlier this year which completely destroyed the home, and it has since been demolished. The lot, because it's in a very old subdivision, Thomas Macon's addition, a lot of these lots, as you know, are smaller than the regulation of R1 or R3, any of those residential zones. So in this particular case, because we established some years ago the R1A, when people are having a difficult time citing especially a new house on a lot, they do have that ability to go to R1A. He still could have built a house with R3, but his setbacks and everything would have been more onerous for him than going to R1A. So he has chosen to do that. The lot qualifies for that. And as you know, R1A was designed to accommodate these small lots that were established prior to the institution of zoning. I'll show you on this, see if I can do this. By the way, you do have new maps. The map that was provided to you was a little bit at too large of a scale, and so it didn't show the lot as clearly as it could have with respect to the zoning. So I reprinted a color map that actually blew it up, the area up a little bit, so you can actually see that it is zoned R3. The applicant provided justification for the rezoning in his application materials. He states that R3 is not practical or applicable to this lot, and that's true. The minimum lot width, even for an R3 lot, is 75 feet. He has a lot width of 46 feet. He doesn't even meet the minimum standard of 6,000 square feet for a lot. So the R1A district, as we know, was created to rezone small lots that were platted prior to the city's adoptions of its zoning code. This will allow him more generous setbacks and a higher lot coverage so that he can utilize more of the property for his buildings. The setbacks are more generous, but the uses are more limited. This vacant parcel meets the minimum yard specifications for R1A. It is about 5,500 square feet, 46 feet in width. It meets the purpose of the zone district, and R1A zoning is adjacent to the property. So we do not oppose the zone change, and we do not suggest any kind of conditions attached to that. You can see that this is 810 Greenwood. That house no longer exists. These are all single-family homes. And you can tell from your zoning map, let's see if I can get this up here. Easier when I'm doing it at my desk. I'm not going to waste our time here. I'll worry about that one later. You can see that R1A zoning occurs all over in the core area. So this is not an unusual request. The applicant is here, and if I can answer any questions for you, I'd be happy to do that. Your findings of fact are also attached to your staff report. There are two motions, one for the findings and then also then for your recommendation. Oh, let me finish one other thing. We did send a written notice to 28 property owners. I did have 3 inquiries. People just asking what is R1A. They were not really aware of it, but no opposition at all to this rezoning.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bernath. I do have just a clarification. I want to make sure I understand the color code on our new map. in that the orange gold is the R1A, and in fact, there will be 2 lots adjoining 810 and 814 that'll have the same zoning, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then we have R2 is yellow, R3,
R3 is that
faded
buff,
pink,
buff
whatever.
color.
buff?
Mhm.
Okay, and then we have Central Business District down on Macon. Okay.
That's correct.
All right, members of the commission, do you have any questions for Terry? Carlson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question. So those 3 inquiries were just people asking like what was going on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, at this time, would the applicant please come forward and identify yourself and state your request? Good evening, welcome. The podium is right there. Oh, I don't know.
Right there, sir.
Okay,
You can
okay.
sit by me if you wanted to.
Oh, well, there's one right there.
First of all, thank you all for what you're doing, serving on the Planning Commission. I know you're all just in it for the money, but it's a public service, and I know it's, it takes of your time, and I appreciate that. My name is Tom Berry. I actually live in Penrose at the moment. I've lived in Canyon quite a few years of my life. My wife and I restored the David Robinson House at First and Riverside years ago, across the street from the Robinson Mansion. I was a home builder here for quite a few years before I went to work for the state, like everyone else. And at any rate, what I'm asking for is a zone change, as the city planner mentioned, from R3 to R1A, the new designation, zoning designation for small, non-compliant lots. And in my opinion, this lot is the perfect example of what this new zoning designation is designed for. I happen to believe that there is a need for quality housing close in, where the residents there can walk to for most of their daily needs, to the library, to the doctor's office, to the drugstore, grocery, post office, library, etc. If I may, I have a couple of copies of a thumbnail picture of what the house I have in mind might look like. It's a small bungalow type house with it's very narrow. It fits on the lot. It's 30. The various parts of it are anywhere from 28 to 30 feet wide by 50. The whole, from the front porch to the back of the furthest extreme to the south, it's 51 feet. So it's ideal for that lot. I think it enhances the neighborhood. It's fits in with the architecture, if you will, the character of that part of town. And just so you know, I'm building it as the homeowner, not as a contractor. It's my hope to live in the house when it's completed. I'm applying for the building permit as we speak. Even though I think this zoning change will help as far as adding perhaps a detached garage off the alley. But the plot plan that I'm about to submit with my building permit application is based on the existing setback regulations, and also based on the rebuild letter, quote unquote, that the city issues at the request of the property owner, which was done by the previous property owner after the house burned and was demolished. Any questions? I'll be glad to try to answer.
You have questions from Mr. Berry?
Yes, I have a question. Mr. Berry, this is John Hamrick here. I'm over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. You said that your new house will be up to 30 feet wide, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, and does that extend the footprint from what the previous house was?
No, in fact, it appears to me that it's perhaps slightly smaller, narrower than the previous house. I have, the only thing I really have to go on for that is the aerial photograph and the map. And I have had the lot surveyed. My surveyor tells me all those lots are 44 feet wide rather than 46, and I hope he's wrong, but where the corner pins are is about as far as they can go either way, as near as I can tell. The houses on either side, certainly on the west side of that property, are certainly very close to that property line, not more than 3 or 4 feet. The buildings at the south end, in other words, on the alley, are right on the property line. And I'm not completely well-versed in all those setback requirements, but my understanding is that those outbuildings toward the rear of the property can be right on the back property line.
And along that line, was there previously a detached garage? You're planning on a detached garage?
There was not an attached garage. There was a detached building of some kind. I assume it was a small garage, clear back at the southwest corner of the property. It was actually connected to a similar building on the lot next door, which I thought was interesting. You can see the remains of where the building was removed from the one that's still standing on the lot to the west.
And you're planning on constructing a new structure
Yes.
in that area that will have a little bit larger footprint, is that right? Is that correct?
Well, in that, yeah,
In that particular area.
that's my intent. I'm not saying I definitely will. I'm not including that in my permit application at this time.
And that leads really to the point of my questions here. Are you aware of any easements on your property that might speak to where you want to build, your structures?
I'm not aware of, I'm not exactly sure what you mean. I'm not aware of any easements other than there is a water line, a sewer line that run in to the property. I have staked out where I intend to build the house. It's set back 19 feet off the front property line and 7 feet on both sides from the sidelines. And that conforms with the rebuild letter that I have in my possession.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Generally, if I might be able to add a little bit to that. Generally, it's very difficult to know about easements in these old subdivisions. But for one thing, he would be able to build on or take up the entire footprint of the previous house, which was very close. He will generally have a 5-foot setback on either side. That is generally enough, even for easements that get identified later. That's part of his due diligence as he goes forward with a building permit. So,
Thank you.
One thing I might add, if I may, I have spoken I've gotten fairly familiar with the neighbors to the east, the next door neighbors. They are Shannon and Erica Daly. They're 2 teachers here in Canyon City. They are delighted that there's a new house going in there. They're really excited about it. And so.
Else? I just want to thank you for infilling. Even in the rural communities of Canyon City, we have problems with urban sprawl.
Yeah.
So I'm an infiller, and I appreciate your infilling. Thank you.
Well, I've discussed this some with the mayor, Mayor Troutman, and with city planner Terry Bernath, and my understanding is there's at least an effort to do more of this sort of thing with some of the blighted houses that maybe have been sitting vacant for several years and things like that. And I applaud that. I think it's a really necessary thing. I think it's really important.
Yep, urban renewal has to start somewhere. Thank you for participating in that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? And there, anybody in the, oh, yes, Miss.
I want to say I applaud your efforts too, Tom. This is a special interest of mine, is not allowing our core old city to rot away and have these kind of gaps. And we need more
Really?
of you. And maybe when they
Thank
see
you.
what a nice thing you're doing, other people will step up. Because these are houses that people can afford to buy and they can afford to maintain once they're in them. And we really need to encourage more of that. So good for you.
And thank you. Well, and there are some good things happening. Some of in that neighborhood in particular, there are people have done some nice things with their existing houses. The Dailies have really, their house looks new even though it's not. It's been really fixed up and kept up nicely. Obviously the Gibson Mansion is just across the 9th Street intersection diagonally from where we are. So
Thank you so much, Mr. Barry. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure. And I assume, is there anybody in the audience who would wish to speak to this item? There are so many. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will close the public hearing at this time. Have any further discussion among commissioners before we call for a motion? Do I have a motion for the first motion, finding effect? Commissioner Bates.
Make a motion that we approve the, change the R1A.
Let's,
It's got-
Mr.
it's
Bates,
right
if I
here.
could get you to go to your findings of fact. So we're gonna work on motion number 1 first, and you can pretty much read that verbatim until you get to,
Plan to be rezoned, R-zoned in there, or, is that the one? The planning commission, upon conducting a public hearing on the above entered by the applicant, city staff, and any other interested parties finds as followed.
Excuse me.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, is the correct finding of fact in this case only number 1 for this case, would you recommend?
yes, that is what I would recommend.
Plan to be rezoned or zoned in there. Oh, okay, you want me to do that then? And as presently zoned is inconsistent with the policies and goals of the city's comprehensive plan. The master plan, the land does not meet the R3 yard requirements, but does meet the R1A lot requirements.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bates,
Aye.
Commissioner Carlson,
Aye.
Chairman Bellantoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Frida, Commissioner Ledoux,
Aye.
Commissioner Maloney,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamrick.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Call for a motion for recommendation. Second motion. Commissioner Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After hearing the glowing endorsements by my fellow commissioners, I'd like to make the motion that, based upon the above findings of facts that we just approved, that the Canyon City Planning Commission makes the following recommendation to the Council of the City of Canyon City, that we recommend approval of the request for rezoning.
Second.
Seconded that?
Commissioner Bates.
Commissioner Carlson,
Aye.
Commissioner Bates,
Aye.
Chairman Bellantoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Frida, Commissioner Ledoux,
Aye.
Commissioner Maloney,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamrick.
Aye.
Okay, the motion is approved by unanimous vote. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Barry.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Have a great evening.
I appreciate your help, folks.
Okay, we will be moving on to the next item. I would like to take this moment to open the public hearing for, give me a minute, to consider a special review use in the general commercial zone district for a light industrial use with less than 100 employees located at 213 South 8th Street and 215 South 7th Street. The provisions of the Canyon City Municipal Code, and in particular Title 17 thereof, the subdivision and development regulations, and the comprehensive plan of the City of Canyon City are incorporated into the record of this hearing as if set forth verbatim. We're going to learn that as a jingle, and we're going to sing it together before we're done, okay? Thank you, Denise. Okay, so, Ms. Bernath, what do we need to know?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to let you know I also replaced the maps that were in your packet, which were black and white and are pretty much illegible. So the ones that you have received from me tonight is another zone district vicinity map. That area that is marked in yellow is the property that we are discussing tonight. And then also a map that's kind of highlighted, the outline is highlighted in yellow. That is the property as well, taking the zoning off so you can see the buildings. But now that I've got this up here too, I'm gonna try to use this because it may help. So, I'll get started. This is a request for special review use, a light starter industry with less than 100 employees. The applicant is Bill Hale. He is from Hale Pet Doors. There are two, this is quite a large property. It runs from, this is 8th Street. This is where his factory and his call center and his warehouse are located right now. This is a building that the future building that is discussed in the staff report. A very large 6,500 square foot metal building. This is not a building. This is just a concrete slab. And this is a building that's on his other property line that was part of Short Lumber. I'm not sure what was there. He had, in the past, as it's stated in the staff report, he had rented this to a welder, just an independent person who was using the property in that way. So let me go back and start so you can start at the beginning. Written notice was mailed to all property owners within 300 feet as required by law. Hale Pet Doors was originally located on Main Street and operated there as a call center. In 2015, Mr. Hale purchased the property at 213 South 8th and 215 South 7th, and that's the former Short Lumber, and moved his business to that site. It came to our attention somewhat later that he was also operating a manufacturing business. And a manufacturing business in the commercial zone district is not allowed unless it meets those specifics of a light starter industry with less than 100 employees. And that is allowed as a use by special review. So a light industry is defined as the assembly, processing, fabrication, and manufacturing of goods that uses only moderate amounts of materials in production and or has few, if any, environmental impacts. We believe that his business fits this model completely. The main building, which is fronts 8th Street, which is right here, as I said, it currently houses the call center, his offices, a display area where walk-in customers are served, and then it's separated by a wall to the south, his factory, fabrication, custom work, assembly, and shipping, and then even to the further south than that, right in here, is where he has a warehouse. In the middle of the property, as I already said, is that 6,500 square foot building that he wants to eventually, that's his future plan, to turn into his factory, because he's pretty cramped in this building with everything there. And he said that at that time, too, that he would not employ any more than 50 people. He currently employs 20 people. His hours are from 7 to 4, Monday through Friday. He has not indicated any environmental issues, noise, odor, or otherwise. We did a site visit there. There's some saws and that kind of thing. Those impacts did not even really extend to the property line. They're all internal. His shipping is by FedEx, and he has indicated that a forklift is the heaviest piece of equipment that he uses on his property. Referral comments came from the city engineer, the fire district, sand district, and the building department. Mr. Hale did not provide us with a very detailed application. So his site plan came from some appraisal documents that he had. And so there are some things that are missing and things that will need to be addressed as he moves forward. First of all, staff, I will say that we are recommending approval of this with conditions. We believe that because this is already quasi-industrial area, it is, and I said this in the staff report, it's kind of discreetly set back from Royal Gorge Boulevard, and so doesn't really have an impact on those businesses or core businesses that already do front on Royal Gorge Boulevard. It's adjacent to industrial zoning to the south. It has already, as he stated also in his application, it's operated there for the last year and more and has not had any complaints. We certainly haven't noticed any. So we are, and really believe that it doesn't produce any excessive traffic, and nor does it produce any significant environmental issues. So we are recommending approval with conditions, and I can go through those conditions with you. Also, the referral comments are in the staff packet and I only summarize them when I put them into the staff report, but the full comments are in the staff packet. Because this is a change in use, and we did have this discussion with Mr. Hale, when there is a change in use, it prompts site planning requirements. And so if a special review use comes in and all of those site planning requirements are met during that process, then the applicant wouldn't necessarily have to go through site planning after the special review use. In this case, many of those have not been met, and so one of our conditions is that Mr. Hale will have to go through a site plan process to address parking, off-street parking. He'll have to provide parking on his own site for his employees, which he does now, but it has to be to the city standards. He will also have to address drainage issues, which tomorrow we're actually having a pre-application meeting with him to sit down and talk about what we're going to need for a site plan. So one of those conditions is site planning. The first condition is that the use not exceed 50 employees. Although Mr. Hale has indicated that he doesn't wish to have any more than that, and we don't believe that the site could handle anything more than 50 employees, even if it could handle that many. We're going to require that he provide parking for the number he has right now and not to overpark or provide parking that he doesn't need right now, but we are suggesting that he not have any more than 50 employees.
Terry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I interrupt?
Yes, of course.
Is that I read about the 50 employees. Is that solely based on the capacity for parking? Is that the reason for that?
It was a representation that he made, and we really haven't gone through the site planning process yet, and so he could conceivably have enough parking. He had actually indicated that he had parking for 80. When I look at that site, I don't believe he has parking for 80 people. So it was my rough estimation to hold him then to 50, because that's what he said he wanted. That certainly will be up for y'all's discussion and Mr. Hales as well. But that was my reasoning for that. The second condition is that he will have to get any building, electrical, plumbing permits for any construction that's already been completed or may be necessary in the future. He will also have to do, number 3 is obtain approval of a site plan that addresses, among other things, the things that we've talked about in here, which is his off-street parking and his site drainage. The city engineer has put some other requirements on this that have to do with site plan. There's a backflow that has to be met, site drainage. The building department needs additional information, which he has provided, and that will be addressed tomorrow as well during his pre-application for site plan to see if there's anything else that's needed. Right now, we're just addressing life safety issues. Number 5 is a condition that we put into all of our special review uses about material representations. And then number 6 is that this will only extend to Hale Pet Doors as it's presented and will terminate if the use is discontinued. Sometimes special review uses are transferable. From this planner's perspective, it wouldn't seem prudent to do that with industrial uses. So if another industrial use, for instance, wanted to come in and take over this site, if Mr. Hale decided that he was going to retire and go to Hawaii and close his business up, another use would have to come in and get another special review use, because there are differences in the aspects of different types of industrial uses. We wouldn't want to open this up to any industrial use. That's what I'm trying to get at. So that's the reason for number 6. We had written notice sent out to 25 property owners within 300 feet of his property. There were no comments or inquiries received during that process. We have an attached advisory report for you. I have, as you can see, a vicinity zoning map, all of the referral comments. We have included excerpts from the municipal code that have to do with special review. And then there's also Mr. Hale's application for special review. Happy to answer questions. And Mr. Hale is here as well.
Okay, commissioners, do you have questions for Ms. Bernath?
I do have a question.
Cameron?
In looking at chapter 17.28, which is off-street parking, and referring to the table in there with 20 employees, do I read that right, that he would need 14 parking places, 12 or 14 parking places?
My calculation was 19, but I don't have that right in front of me.
19. 19 is what you
19.
calculated. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And we will address that as well. That will be determined in greater detail tomorrow.
Questions? Just for clarification, access is off of 7th Street?
It can be. There's access off of 7th, and then there's also access through the alley off of 8th.
by the commercial front along the north side,
Yes. Oops.
down the alley. Okay?
And truthfully, Mr. Hale could probably answer whether there's, no, that's fenced off on the south side, so I don't believe he has access there.
Questions? Okay. Mr. Hale, would you please come forward and identify yourself and state your request? Welcome this evening. And also, thank you for your business in Canyon City.
Thank you.
You are a FEDC success story, so thank you.
I am Bill Hale. I retired in '98 and bought a piece of land up Tallahassee Way, if you know where that's at. And I took the business back in 2002 and started in my garage, or in my barn, with the call center. Moved to Main Street here and was here for several years and bought this land. And it's been informal all the way from the start. What I have done to the property has been done on Saturdays and without any forethought. So this is something new to me, is coming to terms with the city of Canyon City. And I haven't seen anything yet that is out of reason. I just need to learn what I'm supposed to do.
And thank you for that perspective. That is it. We're here to be, if you will, protective of not only you as the property owner, but as a commission, we have to be aware of all the surrounding neighbors so that everybody lives together and doesn't impact each other. But you're doing a great job, and the employment is necessary. Thank you. Does anybody have questions for the applicant? Okay, Commissioner Carlson.
I have a question, and this is purely for my understanding of exactly where the location is. Is this the building that used to, at one point, I think like 3 years ago, was a computer repair place?
Yes.
And then the Republican headquarters was there for a year, and now it's, okay, I'm actually really familiar with
Yes.
this property because I had to clean up after the Republicans left. It's a great space. It's a great space.
Yes.
Are currently people parking in the dirt area between the two buildings? Is that where
Yes.
those 19 cars are going to go?
Yes.
That is, okay.
I do have paved area, though, that is currently paved, that is sufficient for them to park in. And they will park there if I say so. But right now, they're parking in the dirt and wherever they want to.
Because there is quite a bit of space there for people to park. Are you planning on doing anything with that giant? I told the Republicans they should have rallies there because it's this huge stage thing, that concrete slab right there. Are you planning on using that for anything in the foreseeable future?
I plan on putting steel up so that we can drive vehicles on it.
Oh, okay.
And it can be a parking area, or it can be storage area for vehicles, or whatever. It doesn't have any designation at this point.
Those are all my
Alright.
questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Commissioner
Mr.
Hamel?
Hale, thank you for coming and letting us know what you've got in mind. And we do, Canyon City does appreciate the fact that you have brought jobs here to our city. I have a question for you. The sixth condition that has been proposed by staff says that this will extend to your business only. Have you, during this process, considered a zoning change request to industrial that would then run with the property and perhaps to future businesses?
I haven't, I don't even know what it is. This zoning thing is new to me, so I haven't even considered that.
That was my question.
If I might, I don't believe that we discussed a zone change. I don't believe so. When we approached Mr. Hale, it was to allow him to work under the commercial zoning. And I would hesitate, as the planner, to rezone that property to industrial.
Why?
Well, because it borders, it's very close to the core. And it may be that at some point, that property would be a proper commercial use. I don't think, in operating this way with his business is appropriate. I would hesitate to zone it industrial at this point. It's too close to RGB, I would say.
Royal Gorge Boulevard, so you're making
Yes.
the decision, even though there is a boundary line that adjoins industrial property.
It's true.
So it would be a candidate, since it does adjoin, because at that
be.
point, the use is a right by use by land zone, and then he can sell his business and it can be maintained industrial.
What
But
would
he
be
could-
best for him?
Well, the easiest thing, well, I'm not so, well, I would say this is the easiest way for him. Because he can operate his business as long as he wishes to. I mean, he could sell it and that business could continue to operate there.
Just that business, and Commissioner
Yes.
Bates asked what
Yes.
is best for the applicant. He didn't say which
Well-
was the easiest. And I
don't
think a
know.
zone change would add
Value.
value to the property, because then it opens it up for opportunity and diversity for use under industrial, light industrial. That's what this is. And it abuts industrial property.
It'd help FEDC to market.
Where's the
That's
industrial?
Directly to the
Well,
south, it's the gray area.
It's the gray area, I can put that on. So this is commercial and this is industrial.
And it includes that big
Basically
building?
separated by the railroad tracks are what delineate it.
Is that large
That's-
building directly south of his property?
That's the DOC, the tilapia,
Is that industrial?
yes. This is all industrial land here.
I think he'd be better
would-
off going industrial.
Oh, possibly. I mean, if you look though at the industrial uses that I'm not so sure that would be staff supported.
I was just gonna ask, about the zoning change and the master plan, is that kind of, we want to keep that commercial, right?
Well, it would appear to me, I mean, this actually used to be in the central business district, this piece of property. And I think that that's a stretch, for sure. So it's kind of, it could be something that's in the middle. I would hesitate to zone it that way. If that's what he would like to do, we could certainly start this over and take it through in that way.
And I guess that's the next
That's-
question is what.
I didn't offer
I
that.
mean, to redo this, you've already notified in writing.
Hmm.
He'd have to post the property.
Yes, we'd
We
start
would
over.
have to have all the things that you're asking for, the site plan and that sort of thing, which you are already
Have to-
asking for.
Sure.
So what is the detail in the application that wouldn't, besides posting it with the sign? What's the part of the application process that hasn't been done?
Well, the entire zone change application, because this isn't a zone change application. We would be looking at some things that are somewhat different. then we're looking, I mean, staff would be, then we're looking at it now. We would start over. I mean, the people who, for instance, who received their notices were for a special review use.
I understand what they were,
Okay,
I'm just comparing the
Oh.
SRU process to the zone change process.
They
And
go
and
through very similar. I
They
mean,
are very,
almost
that's my
exact.
point. We gotta post a sign,
Yeah, they'll have to post, mail, publish notice.
but, I mean,
Planning
the
Commission
steps he's done
recommendation.
today, the
Yes.
additional steps he'd have to do as a zone change is to put a sign on the property. I understand you'd repeat it, but what are the
Oh.
additional steps? He'd put a sign on the property.
There would be no additional steps other than they would be done again.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Mr. Hale. In listening to all of this, it sounds like if the SRU is done, the special use review, that would mean that you couldn't sell your business as it stands right now without going through the process again.
No, he
No,
can't.
if
Not him, but
the
the buyer.
special review is only for pet hail doors, or, I'm sorry, hail pet doors, okay? And if he was to sell that and it was to change hands, would that special review, would that still be in force? So he could sell his business, should he choose to retire?
And we could rewrite, if you're concerned about that, the condition could be rewritten such that it would be Hale Pet Doors or a similar business not to exceed employees of 50, a light industrial. I mean, we could add that.
Madam Chair?
And my question was, Mr. Hale, which way do you feel like you'd like to go after hearing some of this discussion?
I don't know.
Let-
Okay,
let's,
that's a fair answer. My
let-
goodness, yes.
Commissioner
I have a question.
Carlson.
The special, if he does decide to sell the property, there doesn't need to be another special review if the new owner wants to act within the confines of commercial, correct? It's only
That's
if they want
correct.
to do a different industrial thing that they want a different special review for. So we could sell the property to somebody who wants to do something commercially in the commercial zone.
Yes, anything that would be allowed in the commercial district or Hale Pet Doors. You
So
can-
am I correct in understanding that this is like a temporary, I don't know the right word, a special
No,
review, I guess?
There is no it is not temporary.
Well, as long as it's
It
within a
has
year.
it has no expiration.
Understood.
Okay.
All right, that's my question.
Yep.
And I guess I would like to hear Mr. Hale's response to Commissioner Councilman / Gill. What would you like? We're here to please you.
I want to build pet doors.
He wants to build pet doors. And yay. And Mr. Hale, I think, I'm speaking for some members of the commission, is that we want this to be good for you.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, there is going to be a day where you're going to have to exit that business somehow, whether you sell it or close it, whatever. And you need to have that option. And that's what we're trying to guarantee to you, is that the SRU does not make that difficult for you. So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes. I don't have any plans to do anything else besides build pet doors.
Do you have grandchildren or a son or a daughter?
I have a daughter that.
Is she working with you?
Huh?
Is she working with you?
Yes, she is working with me. She's gonna be at the meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
And she's gonna take over the business when I back out, she's gonna take it over.
Wonderful. Okay. That's good. Anybody else? This is good.
And so just even under the current number 6 condition that we have, if his daughter takes over the business and runs it as Hale Pet Doors and continues the same activities that are ongoing today, then there's no further zoning action that needs to happen at that time.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so here's another question, just because we're here. And I have 5 minutes before former Commissioner Welsh gets upset with me for going over 8 o'clock. He has, you said he has 19? He needs 19 spaces for 30 employees?
20, yeah.
20, he needs 20 spaces for 30 employees?
He needs 19 spaces for 20 employees. And that's based on square footage. It's not based on the number of employees he has. So at this point, I'm using
His
a
nose count?
parking standard that doesn't jive with the number of employees he has.
Because what would
That's
happen if
okay.
his, if
We're
his
good.
daughter needs to hire more employees? Is there sufficient space for her? You know what? I'm not even gonna go down this path. I'm
Well,
gonna-
I
can
tell you
just
what,
go-
let
I'm
me-
just gonna.
Let me tell you, let
Is there a
me,
big beep beep sign come behind me?
I can,
Okay.
if I could clarify. When we go through site plan, that's another application process.
Yes, ma'am.
And we will probably attach a condition on that with respect to parking because he has the potential to over double his employee size. And so what we'll say is, right now, you only have to do 19 spaces.
But you can grow.
If and when you grow, and then you will have to come in and add some more spaces.
Okay, is that fair, Mr. Hale? Because we want you to grow. We want you to,
Or he wants
That's
to
fair,
grow.
yeah.
that's fair. Is that fair?
Don't have
Okay.
any option with, I have no problem with that.
Okay, okay. And I guess that's my real question too is, you've heard the conditions. You're acceptable of the conditions that Ms. Bernath read to us, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody? Any other questions of the applicant? Okay.
Let me just leave one thing with you too, on the condition number 6. If you want to expand that, happy to help with the wording on that if you decide you want to do that. It allows for more possibilities in terms of special review.
Bless you. Everybody good? Are we good? Are we pondering?
I'm good.
We're all good? We're good? I hear a nod. Do I see a nod? Everybody's nodding? Pat's good? Everybody's good?
Not allowed.
Okay, I know, I think we're good. Okay, thank you, sir. I'm going to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Denise, am I supposed to be using this hammer? Thank you. Am I supposed to be using the hammer?
Only if I get out of control. do you start using the gavel.
Okay, do we have any more discussion? Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
I am in favor of the current application for special review ahead of us, in that it allows light industrial usage for him in the commercial zone. I would be hesitant to just make it blanket industrial and as a rezone change, because having been to the property, right across the street is the park right there. It's right next to 9th and Highway 50, which is, I think, the key intersection in town. And so I'm much more in favor, I could be persuaded, but I'm much more in favor of the current application for leaving this special review for him and maybe his kids, and maybe, or something that maybe someday will become commercial, but not necessarily industrial.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Did you hear that? Would you please repeat that into your microphone, Commissioner Frida?
I agree with his comments.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, we just want to be sure we don't paint him into a box, so that when the final day comes and he has to pass this on to his daughter, she can't continue. Okay, that's the only, that was the open.
Definitely understand. I'm glad that we had this discussion.
We're here as a discussion. Okay. Okay. With that, I will call for a motion. Let's take a look at our motion because it's quite extensive, and it is a two-part motions that we need two of them. We need to read through those standards of criteria for approval and pick the ones that you like. Guidance?
You should be able to find in the affirmative for all of them under motion number 1. And you have an opportunity in number 4 to add something else if you like, if there are other findings that you think are pertinent.
I'm going to start bringing Hershey Kisses, and for anybody who makes a motion, except for Gregory. Yeah.
I was going to raise my hand.
I don't know, I haven't decided that.
Madam Chair,
Oh, Commissioner Maloney, yes, sir.
I would like to move the Canyon City Planning Commission, following consideration of the above captioned special review use request, and after considering the testimony presented by the applicant, city staff, and other interested parties, find as follows. Notice of the public meeting was properly given as required by law. The applicant does comply with the requirements of Chapter 17.24 of the CCMC and any applicable written rules in the following respects. The applicant is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance as declared in Section 17.04.020 of the CCMC in the following respects.
Could you read those, please?
Sure. Starting with the first one.
Sure.
The
Let's get those in
applicant has
record.
provided a complete and acceptable application, including supplemental documentation, and has paid the application fee. The applicant has sufficiently addressed the impacts that the use will have in this area as conditioned and has applied for approval of a use that is consistent with the zoning ordinance. The special review use is designed to be compatible with surrounding land uses and the area of its location in the following respects. The use is light industry, poses no traffic or parking concerns as conditioned, and its use is consistent with the type of buildings on site and previous use of the property as conditioned. The use may exist in the core business area without negative impacts. And that is all.
I second the motion.
Oh, please.
Commissioner Maloney,
Aye.
Commissioner Carlson,
Aye.
Chairperson Bellantoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Frida,
Aye.
Commissioner Ledoux,
Aye.
Commissioner Bates,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamrick.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion on the recommendation to City Council?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner?
I'm prepared to make motion number 2, but before I do, I'd like to ask my fellow commissioners if there's any desire to amend number 5 on the conditions.
Number 6.
5 or 6?
Well, number 5 was the one about allowing extra wiggle room for something besides the usage of pet doors, correct?
That's 6. Where it specifically says extends
Oh,
only
okay.
to hail pet
Then I
doors.
meant, okay, then I meant 6. Is there any desire for any amendment to that?
And the only one that I could think of, and I don't know if we want it, is just extend only to any other light industrial use with less than 50 employees. Light starter, I think the term is light starter. But
You might,
it's up to
you might want to say something like with similar characteristics or something like that, so that what we're talking about is a business that we,
Let me,
in the years to
The key word there is terminate.
yeah.
I'm
Let me
looking at
make
number
the,
6.
I'll go ahead and make the motion, and then if a member would like to offer an amendment, they can after I make the motion. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that, based upon the findings of fact, and having considered the development features of the proposed use, that the Canyon City Planning Commission hereby makes the following recommendations to the Canyon City City Council. That we approve the special review use request with the following modifications and conditions. Number 1, that approval shall not exceed 50 employees, the approved use. Number 2, the applicant shall obtain all required building, electrical, and plumbing permits for any construction or alterations that have already been completed or that may be necessary in the future, and obtain a certificate of occupancy if required. Number 3, the application shall obtain approval of a site plan pursuant to Chapter 4.12 of the Subdivision and Development Regulations that addresses, among other things, off-street parking and site drainage. Number 4, the applicant shall comply with any and all requirements of the Canyon City Area Fire District, the city engineer, and the city building department in written comments made during this application process. Number 5, unless otherwise modified by this approval or other subsequent decision of the city council, as it may apply to this request, all material representations made by the applicant in its application submittal and in any public hearing shall be binding upon the applicant, and that the applicant's failure to perform in accordance with such material representations could result in the revocation of this approval. And number 6, the approval herein granted shall extend only to Hale Pet Door as presented in this application and will terminate if the use is discontinued for a period of 1 year or more.
Do I hear a second? Okay, Commissioner Frieda seconded. Is there any discussion? Have a roll.
Commissioner Carlson,
Aye.
Commissioner Frieda,
Aye.
Chairperson Bellantoni,
Aye.
Commissioner Ledoux,
Aye.
Commissioner Bates,
Aye.
Commissioner Maloney,
Aye.
Commissioner Hamrick.
Aye.
The motion is approved by unanimous vote. Woo! Very good, very good. Are there anything else that commission would like to discuss, bring to attention for next meeting before we, all right. Planner Bernath.
If there's no commissioner who wishes to speak first, I just have a couple of items.
Okay, let's listen to Ms. Bernath, please.
I sent out an email just yesterday, day before Friday, about a special meeting on either the 6th or the 13th. We have a zone code amendment that's coming up that Mr. O'Rourke would like not to have you here on the 20th, which is your regular meeting, because that's very close to the Christmas holidays, and this is an important aspect of a zone code. The zone code amendment is may very well have some public comment, and he wants to make sure that people have an opportunity or are not away for holidays so that they may come to this meeting. So I had put out for the 6th and the 13th, and I, based on all of our scheduling, I would like to do it on the 13th. Can I get maybe a show of hands?
Is this 6th or 13th? And
Yes.
it's in
And
lieu of the 20th?
It's in lieu of the 20th, and our departmental preference would be the 13th.
Will it be a planning commission meeting, or will it
Yes.
be a workshop?
It will not be a workshop, it is a hearing. It is a public hearing,
It will be a public hearing,
yes. And we're moving the date from the 20th to the 13th,
and we're moving it because of proximity to holidays.
proximity to holidays, yes. Yes, ma'am. Are you guys okay with that?
Thumbs up at the 13th's good. Woohoo, look at that.
I basically need a quorum.
You
So
got
if
all of us.
Yay.
Okay, but it's not the 20th.
It will not be the 20th. There may be something else on that agenda. It depends on what comes in during the time. I may have one other application that I'll bring forward.
That would be at 7 o'clock.
It will be at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And at this point, I don't know if we'll have a work session. But definitely the 13th of December, 7 o'clock, public hearing.
Tuesday. It's a Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. Try to
Okay,
keep it a
do we
Tuesday.
have, okay, thank you. Good. Anything else? Did you have another one?
Yes, I have one other thing. I'd like to kind of get your sense of, as you all know, sadly, our wonderful Mr. Havens is no longer with us. And it has been decided in that transition to affirm, we're no longer having an in-house city attorney, that we would not have the presence of an attorney at planning commission meetings. I wanted to know if it would behoove us to have or request that the attorney be here by phone and listen in. Is that something that you feel is necessary? And the reason that I say this is that when we need that person, they're not there. I don't know what it would be like to actually say, oh, we have a question, let's call the attorney. It's always, in hindsight, that we find the need. And so I would approach the city administrator and see what he thinks, if that's, and he certainly has suggested it in the past, like as you need it. But like I'm saying, you don't know you need it until you need it. So what do you guys think?
What do you think?
Would you like to try without for a while?
I would suggest that we have the attorney on the phone for the meeting of the 13th.
I'm with,
We may actually have that one in person.
oh,
Okay, for the 13th, thank you, yeah.
anybody else? Carl?
I would defer to people who have experienced more meetings than me to use their.
My thought is that, there are those very simple, direct, for example, the zone change tonight. Got that. But there have been other code issues that have come up. I think what we should do is look at the agenda. How much notice does the attorney need to dial up?
I don't know that.
Let's find that out. And if she, once the agenda's put together, Terry, and we see something that might look difficult, then we call her up within whatever her is, 48, whatever her time is, 48, 30, whatever she needs. She, he, is this, what kind of a person is this? What gender? Female? I want to go
yes.
she, he. What?
There's one of
Yes.
each, a male and a female.
One of each. Oops.
Generally, I think we'll be dealing with Catherine, I
Okay.
think.
Okay. So if we, just find out what that window of opportunity is. That's where I think.
Okay.
Great idea.
I will pass on, and I know that we talked about this a little bit ahead of time before the meeting started, is that, we're used to getting through these processes without start and finish them in a hearing. Sometimes that simply doesn't happen, and we don't want to hold people back necessarily, but sometimes when there are questions or concerns and other research that might have to happen, it is not unheard of to table something and come back.
And that's fair. That's really fair to come back. But I would think that if we aren't prudent here, we could end up delaying
Oh, yes, there is
way too
always
many.
that.
And now we
don't
get the
want to.
black eye again about not being business friendly or whatever, whatever. And we're down a good path here of being progressive and listening and cooperating with our community. So let's keep going there.
Okay, I'll have more information for you next time, or if whatever I find out, I might just do a mass email to you too,
Okay?
okay? So
Anybody else? Is that it? That's
was
good.
all I
Anybody
had.
else?
Thank you.
Questions? I would like to, because of what we just did, agenda maker. Could we add to the agenda a line item after that last item that says any topics that the commission wants to, what is it called? Announcements? Yes.
Yes, I will.
So that if anybody has a concern like we just did, we can bring it up. Anything else? Okay, well, I will adjourn this meeting.